What you are watching right now is LeBron James during the 2014 NBA Finals with just minutes left of a close game. And as you can see, LeBron is forced to leave this game due to cramps, an unfortunate turn of events, but certainly not anything out of the ordinary, right? Wrong, because now here look into the crowd, where we see that the fans are clearly bothered by the temperature. They're sweating, they're fanning themselves off, they're clearly uncomfortable, and the reason why? The air conditioning in the arena for an NBA Finals game was broken, leading to temperatures above 90 degrees, leading to LeBron James having to sit out the final 4 minutes of this Game 1 loss with cramps, and leading to one of the most overlooked conspiracies in recent NBA history, because someone from the San Antonio Spurs certainly didn't mess with the air conditioning on purpose, right? Well, as you are about to see, shockingly, there is some solid proof that states that maybe they did. So before I lose you with this conspiracy theory, because I get it, it is out there, but let's start with the seeds of potential proof. Let's begin with this quote reported by Sports Illustrated, as during the game it was reported, quote, "I'm going to need some colder water," a mic'd up James was heard saying on the ABC broadcast. "They're trying to smoke us out of here." Now guys, trust me, I looked for this statement, but even though there is an entire video on LeBron's mic'd up moments for Game 1 of this finals, the clip of LeBron saying all of this has been scrubbed from the internet. I'm not kidding, I cannot find it anymore. It does not exist in highlight tapes. However, that does not mean it didn't happen though, as not only did Sports Illustrated write about it, but just listen to Mike Breen say this.
James in there guarding Duncan, and you can see that he's had all sorts of problems. We heard him on our mic earlier.
So it's not only very clear that LeBron was visibly uncomfortable, LeBron also verbally expressed this, going as far as to say that they're trying to smoke us out of here. And the thing is, guys, we're going to get into this. The Spurs have a history of pulling stuff off like this. An opposing player actually found a snake in their locker during that same playoffs. But for now, I just want to say, what's up guys, Mike here. I really think you're going to enjoy this video. We're back with another conspiracy. Before we continue though, I do want to say a new episode of my podcast Laced Up is out right now. In it, we go into detail about Luka Doncic and his recent controversial play.
It happened before the clock hit 0. You can see the clock in the background. Yep, if that's the foul right there.
The link to the podcast will be down below. And also remember, if you subscribe and turn on post notifications for the Laced Up podcast channel, you are going to enter to win a PS5 or an Xbox Series X. All you have to do is go subscribe to Laced Up and turn on post notifications, and boom, you not only get to watch the podcast, but you're entered for a PS5 or an Xbox. That is awesome. Now headed back to this video, let's go back and focus on the smoke them out part of LeBron's statement during Game 1. Certainly interesting, especially when you consider two things. One, LeBron was forced to leave this game multiple times, and this severely cost the Heat. Before the air conditioning went down, Miami was actually ahead, and they were actually ahead by 7 points in the fourth quarter of Game 1 before LeBron was forced to leave the game several times due to cramps. And then after LeBron had to sit out the final 4 minutes of this game with cramps, the Spurs would certainly take advantage, as they were only up by 2 points when LeBron left, and then proceeded to blow the Heat out. Yes, San Antonio won Game 1 and created a giant conspiracy theory in the process, because just 3 days after Game 1 took place, former Dallas Maverick Jason Terry went on a radio show to tell the world that he believed something fishy might be going on here. To begin with, when asked if the Mavs ever thought that the Spurs had turned the temperature up on them in their previous games, Terry replied with, "Oh, no question." For an event of that magnitude, to say that the AT&T Center's air conditioning is not working, there's definitely something wrong with that. And guys, before we continue quickly, remember on this channel right here, if you also subscribe and turn on post notifications, once we hit 1.7 million subscribers, I'm also going to give one of you a PS5 or an Xbox Series X. So make sure you subscribe and turn on post notifications. It's completely free. And guys, remember, if you're already subscribed, make sure to turn on post notifications too. That way you are also entered for this giveaway. All it takes is one click of a single button. Continuing on, you know what? Pop has done that so many times. I don't know if it's a conspiracy, but I'm telling you, going into San Antonio is a tough place to play. And I can remember very well, one time it was cold showers, there were about 1,000 flies in the locker room. This year, there was a snake in the locker room, so they're going to pull out all the stops to get into your head. When you go to San Antonio, expect something like that, and Miami fell victim to it. Now, these were of course some huge words from a former opponent of the San Antonio Spurs, and if you don't believe Jason Terry, well, this snake thing was a very, very real thing, as before Game 2 of the Western Conference Finals, Spurs vs. Trailblazers,
a snake was found in the visitors' locker room of AT&T Center, home of the Spurs. The snake was hanging out at the bottom of teammate Thomas Robinson's locker.
Again, this was very real and is certainly suspicious looking forward, because this to me makes things more interesting here, as we both have an instance of something weird going on against the Spurs that very same playoffs, and we have Jason Terry on record saying the Spurs are capable of pulling out all the stops to get into your head. And wouldn't you know it, LeBron James with his cramping problem, a problem that was so well documented that after this game it actually became a meme. LeBron was the perfect victim to target for an air conditioning attack, and we will get into the specifics of that in a second. I do want to be clear though, I am not exactly positive who the culprit would be in this situation. I'm not saying Greg Popovich did this himself. It could be anyone in the Spurs that was high up or just had access to the air conditioning, to be honest. However, with that said, I also want to point out that the precedent for messing with a team's air conditioning is there in NBA history. The Boston Celtics under Red Auerbach famously used to mess with the other team's air conditioning. The cases of this are well documented, as in USA Today it read, when they played in the original Boston Garden, opponents used to complain that savvy Celtics patriarch Red Auerbach would turn off the air conditioning or the hot water in the visiting locker room. So while this conspiracy theory seems crazy, it has happened in NBA history before. Which brings us specifically to LeBron James and what makes him the perfect target of a heat strike. Because the thing is, this was not the first time that LeBron suffered from cramps. In fact, as I previously mentioned, LeBron's problems with cramps were a well-documented thing, and this is very important because LeBron James was not only the perfect target, but it seemed like he was the only target. What I mean by that is that nobody on the Spurs had a real problem playing in this heat. Tim Duncan said, "I don't think I've played in anything like this since I left the Virgin Islands. It was pretty bad out there." AKA Tim Duncan used to play in the Virgin Islands, a very hot place to play. He was used to this kind of temperature. As was Tony Parker, who said, "Me personally, it didn't bother me. It felt like in Europe. Felt like I was playing in the European Championship. We never have AC in Europe, so it didn't bother me at all." As for Manu Ginobili, he would say, "I don't know if LeBron's situation, this was the reason for that. I don't think we suffered as much. And for sure, I played more years in situations like this than with the AC on the court. Not a big deal in that case." So as you can see, the San Antonio Spurs players were very comfortable on that court, but as for LeBron, he was the complete opposite. And the thing is, if you were an opposing team of the Heat at this point in time, you knew that LeBron was going to be vulnerable to extreme heat, because already LeBron had shown that high temperatures could cause him to be forced off the court due to cramps before. In Game 4 of the 2012 Finals, just 2 years earlier against the Thunder, LeBron also was forced to leave the game with cramps. In that game, LeBron would return and the Heat would win. However, as we know, that was not the case in 2014. And immediately after this game, several people around the league did have a weird feeling, because wasn't it a little suspicious that the air conditioning would break during the fourth quarter of Game 1 of the 2014 NBA Finals, at basically the exact moment when the Spurs were losing and needed LeBron to leave the game. I need to emphasize this here, with the temperature over 90 degrees, the Spurs would go on a 31-9 run to close out this game, and LeBron was quoted as saying, "My body just shut down. Basically, my body said, okay, enough jumping for you for the night. You've had enough. Nothing I could do about it." After this game, LeBron actually needed to take in 2.5 IV bags, and then during that night, he had to go to the bathroom around 6 or 7 times. That is how dehydrated LeBron got, and as for why he got that dehydrated, well, according to Dr. James Weiss, who specializes in sports medicine, Weiss believes, quote, "He has such a higher metabolic requirement, and because of his muscle mass and the way he's able to use his body, he utilizes fluids and energy resources at such a faster rate. Under those conditions, that's part of the reason you can't prevent it as well as a normal athlete. It's part of the fact that he's the most unique athlete on the planet. And with that, and the way he uses his muscles beyond what other people can use it, probably makes him more prone to cramps." And so there we have it, guys. I want to know, what do you think? Do you think it's possible? Do you think that the San Antonio Spurs actually coordinated an effort to make the temperature extremely hot in their own arena, thus causing LeBron to get cramps and thus making the Heat lose the game? Or do you think this was simply bad luck for the Miami Heat? Personally, I don't think that the Spurs would go that far. However, I do have to say this is a wild conspiracy theory. It is definitely interesting because the Miami Heat ended up winning Game 2. If LeBron LeBron never got cramps in game 1, there is a huge possibility they also would have won game 1, which would have given them a 2-0 series lead headed into their own home court in Miami. Remember, the Heat ended up losing the 2014 NBA Finals, and we've got to think though, if they had won the first 2 games, there is a huge possibility that LeBron would have won the 2014 NBA championship, thus changing NBA history forever. With that said, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you're new, make sure to subscribe. Remember, there are 2 giveaways going on right now. You could win a PS5 or an Xbox Series X. All you have to do is subscribe and turn on post notifications to this channel and to the Laced Up Podcast channel. Link to that channel will be in the description. If you're already subscribed, make sure that your post notifications are still on. And as always, thank you guys for supporting. You're awesome. We all know it. And as always, have an awesome day, and cue that music. If you're still here while the music is cued, here are 2 videos I think you are definitely going to enjoy. Make sure to click on one of them. Again, I know you're gonna love it. And other than that, have a great day and peace.